Welcome to Advance with Mike Acker, the podcast designed to help entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals alike break through barriers by improving their practical leadership skills and increasing confidence in speaking. Your host is a best-selling author, executive coach, and founder of the Advance Public Speaking School and Advantage Publishing Group, two companies dedicated to providing an edge for leaders. Find out more about Mike at mikeacker.com. Now here's your host, Mike Acker.
Pamela, thank you so much for being part of the show today. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
I love that I get to highlight speakers as I go through this segment for YouTube and podcast. And first of all, before we dive into some really fun content and dialogue about tech for good and entrepreneurship, tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your company or your organization.
Thank you. Well, I've had a strong calling with UniversalGiving. It helps people donate and volunteer to quality vetted organizations all over the world. So my life has really been about helping mobilize people to give and volunteer in a way that they can trust. So people can go clean up a river in Haiti or go volunteer to build a home in Tanzania. And so what I love to do is bring people together to help serve the world as much as I can. So that's what we do, and I love it.
Well, you mentioned, you didn't say job when I said, what do you do? You said calling. So I assume that this calling also pays you, but talk to us about what this calling is and why do you call it calling instead of job? What does that mean to you?
Sure. Well, UniversalGiving is worldwide, so we're global. So yes, we all get paid for what we do. We're a highly global organization. Even pre-pandemic, we were about 95% global. So we've always taken that really strong international stance. I think for us, and not just myself, it's been really, really important in life to find a purpose, find something that you're really, really supposed to be here for. I know when I graduated from Duke, there were some tracks. There was the doctor track, the lawyer track, the business track, and none of those really perfectly fit me. I was very entrepreneurial. And at the time, there was no social entrepreneurship, social enterprise, any of that. And so I felt very lost. So I went to 4 jobs and left 4 jobs in 4 years. And I kept trying and trying and trying to find something. I wanted my life to be meaningful and to be filled with joy and purpose. So when I finally did find UniversalGiving and marrying the web and allowing people to scale, getting thousands of people involved in giving and volunteering, I felt called to it. I do not feel that this is a job. I get up every day with a grand sense of purpose. And I really wish that for other people, whether it's full-time or part-time, there is something we should be doing. It's very magical if we're connecting in to what we're supposed to be doing to help the world.
Does this tie into, was it Mark Twain who said, find something that you love doing and you'll never work a day in your life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the case. I think even if you face a tough day, you still feel like you're on that track to doing what you're supposed to be doing in life. And so with work, what we don't want it to be is just punching the time card. We want to be inspired by it. And I want to state here, you can be inspired by anything. When I was growing up, my grandmother, she was the first woman at Juilliard, and I would go there on Saturdays, and she was my flute teacher as well. But we would get on the floor and scrub the floor, and we would organize the refrigerator, and we would bake pies. And I grew up with a very, very strong work ethic that she taught me, having grown up and supported her family during the Depression. And so work to me was also purpose. It was joy. It was doing it with people you love to do. So I want to make clear that, every calling that you have can be something that's very simple. It can be as advanced as Elon Musk, but it can also be as simple, meaningful, and inspiring as scrubbing a kitchen floor with your grandmother.
I love it. I love the idea of why. And obviously Simon Sinek has taken that and popularized it, but you're really talking about why in terms of work and what you do and how you go about it and having a cause and a purpose. And I know that's been so essential for me. So I love how it's worked out for you in what you're doing. Tell us a little bit more about UniversalGiving so that we have a little bit of context for what you do before we move on.
Sure. Well, I got super passionate about it when I was 12 and on a family vacation in Mexico. I was around this marketplace and there was all these, burritos and food and music. And all of a sudden my eye caught and turned down a cul-de-sac. And I saw all of these begging, starving children, unwashed, maimed. It was just a shock to me, having grown up with such a loving family. And so immediately the words unacceptable came across my mind. And from that point on, I started volunteering in our backyard, serving meals, translations in Spanish, giving out clothes in East Palo Alto, where there was the highest per capita murder rate. And then I started reading the newspaper and I would see, wait, why is the crisis in El Salvador on page 36? Why is the refugee camp on page 42? Why isn't this front page news? So I hopped on planes and went to all these places and got on the ground, worked in AIDS relief in Uganda, worked in climate change in China in the early 2000s, volunteered in the earthquake crisis in El Salvador, where all the buildings were made of sand and they all collapsed and people were without food, volcanic fluid was going into the rivers, all of that. So through those volunteer experiences, I saw how challenged the world was. And I created Universal Giving, taking these experiences, on the ground experiences that we can all have, that are available to all of us, and then marrying it with my love of technology. Because when the web came, I was like, wait a minute, it doesn't have to be just me. I can get thousands of people through the web, through Universal Giving, matching Universal Giving people up with NGO projects that we vetted all across the world. So now people can come in, they can choose an issue such as education or human rights. They can find projects, they can find NGOs, they can find volunteer opportunities, and you give your money to the projects. 100% goes direct to the cause. We don't take a cut, or you can volunteer. And so to us, that giving and volunteering is so important. 100% goes direct to the cause. And then we vet it for you with a 24-stage quality model that makes sure that your giving is trusted. And that's what I knew when I volunteered abroad. I was like, if people can't go and see it on the ground, I have to bring back the trust. How do I bring back the trust? And that was the genesis for the quality model and Universal Giving.
Gosh, I love this. So there's so many, as you're talking, I'm thinking there's so many different ways that we can go. I'm with you and have so many questions that I know would help the audience. So let me just parse this into a couple areas as they're driving or they're sitting there watching the YouTube, whatever it might be. And our audience is thinking, okay, this is interesting. My guess is some are going to Google it even as we're talking. So that's great as well. But let's dive in and separate this into a couple of different areas, because you talked about coming right out of college, this desire for entrepreneurship. You hinted at that when you were 12 years old, doing things in Palo Alto and other places. And then, of course, you started Universal Giving. So let's start with entrepreneurship and talk to us a little bit about some of the important lessons that you give to other entrepreneurs. I know you do some guest teaching at Harvard and Stanford and other places. So talk to us a little bit about those important lessons, and then we'll go into some tech for good and some of the corporate social responsibility that you hinted at there as well. But let's start with entrepreneurship. What is something that you can talk to us about?
Well, entrepreneurship is part of the light of my life. I love it. It's taking an idea and really taking it through to fruition. And one of the things I coach entrepreneurs a lot about is really think about your longevity, because when you're getting excited about this idea, are you going to get excited about it for 6 months or 2 years? Or are you really going to commit for the long term? Because that will really galvanize people around you if they see you not just having an idea, but excited to be loyal and carry it through. You'll get funders with you long term, people who want to cover you long term. You'll get long-term team members. You'll really build a global presence if that's what you want to do. So you can have entrepreneurial ideas. One of the things I coach entrepreneurs on is really think about how you want to commit and stay with this and bring this through to a really operating idea that's really got there and it's going to stay, because we all have great ideas. A lot of people have said, I had that idea. Yes, you might have had the idea. Did you make it come through to fruition? And there's a big difference. And you learn so much. You go through ups and downs about building the organization, about building yourself. So number one, I do ask entrepreneurs to think about that commitment and that longevity to make sure that idea stays for the benefit of the community. Number two, I think with entrepreneurship, there's just you're constantly learning. My first business when I was 10, out of my mom's backyard, my sister and I ran a daycare camp called Hawley Camp. I was 10, she was 12. We had to budget food for the snack at Safeway. We had to budget time for the nap time. We had to do potato printing. We did water slides. Wait a minute. What happened when the nap time that was supposed to be 40 minutes, the kids only wanted to sleep for 8? What happened when the kids tried to jump in the pool? What happened when the woman who said, do you want the check for the deposit now for all the sessions, now or later? I said later, and she never came. So those sales lessons, everything, you learn so much. How to budget, how to run an organization. If someone offers you a check, take it. Like things like that as a 10-year-old, I was like, oh, no problem. You just bring it anytime you'd like. And I think you learn so much, not just for the organization, but for yourself. And so if you're an entrepreneur and if you're being insightful about it, you are also growing yourself. And what a joy that is.
Oh, man, I love this. Every single entrepreneurship conference needs to hear what you said about the first one, because myself as an entrepreneur in several different areas, there have been so many, I call it the spaghetti, you throw it at the wall, and there's been ones that has just bounced right back off. Like it was interesting for a moment and then it died. And it's only been the ones that I've stayed at for a long time that have worked. So they need to hear that. If you're listening, you're tuning in right now and you're hearing Pamela Hawley talk about longevity, you want to do entrepreneurship, lean in and reach out to her for even more of that. Okay, so entrepreneurship, we could probably go for a long time about that. I know you've taught about that, but let's make a little bit shift over here. So you're in what's called a tech for good company. So talk to us about what that means and what does it take to be in a tech for good company?
Well, we love technology out here in Silicon Valley. You're around it all the time. New tech ideas, all these burgeoning companies. You see companies start up and die and flourish and grow, and it's super exciting. We try to be early on tech and then use tech for good. So how do we do that at Universal Giving? For example, I'd like to call out one of our greatest partners, Salesforce. Salesforce has offered for more than 10 years their platform for us for free. So we use it to input all of our contacts for future corporations that we work with. We use it for any kind of leads on fundraising for Universal Giving. We put our NGO partners in there, and then we can send out newsletters. So they call it, CRM, customer relationship management. We just call it a relationship database, which is it allows us to maximize all of our relationships, and we're using tech for good. So while they're building this for top, Fortune 500 companies, we're using it as a nonprofit, as an example for tech for good. Another great company is Okta. We use Okta single sign-on multi-factor authentication. Very important for security in this day and age. And we use that company-wide, and they give that to us for free. So those are two great examples of using tech for good and using it to help expand out the good that they build out for other Fortune 500 companies. We're using it. We also have partnerships with Microsoft, Alteryx, Cisco, BHP, Apple, many, many, many companies that come to us for work in this area. And so for us, our whole goal is how can we use that technology that's super high level and use it for good?
That's excellent. I was involved in nonprofits for years, still am, but I was chairing one. And one of the questions that got posed to me one time, because we were going to pay an executive director a certain amount, and we were talking about this, and they were just kind of doubting and questioning the amount that we're going to pay and the education we were looking for in this area. And the way that we responded to that question on this panel was, we want the best at the top. We want people who know what they're doing. We want people who excel at what they're doing so that they can really capitalize it elsewhere. If we're willing to pay a CEO a larger sum to run a huge company so that they can build widgets, why not be willing to pay a certain amount for an executive director at an NGO so that they can have this great good? So it's a little bit different principle, but what you're talking about is instead of just using a CRM or whatever else so that a company can make money, let's use it for something that's for good, for this humanitarian purposes, and really push it out there. In my case, I told you what happened there and the pushback. Have you had that kind of pushback in any of what you do, or do people just unilaterally say, that's awesome?
I think anytime you're trying to push forward a new idea, you're going to get some kind of pushback that way. I'll give you an example. The first tech company that I co-founded, Volunteer Match, in 1996, we were starting out here in Silicon Valley, and at that time, Mike, there were no email addresses for companies, nonprofits, government, anyone. What you did is you had an email address for AOL. It went to a dial-up sound that was this horrible sound on your phone. And what we did is at Volunteer Match was creating a platform. What we were working on was helping connect up volunteers in local areas. And so as we were doing that, we were actually taking away the jobs of volunteer centers, of libraries, of places that people would post up on a bulletin board, volunteer opportunities, because our site was the first place that allowed people to put in a zip code and find volunteer opportunities online, whereby you were just going and getting 3 recommendations from the volunteer center. So we didn't see it as taking it over. We just saw it as a supplement in a new way. But we were seen as sometimes a for-profit, which we weren't taking over. We were seen as taking over an old system, and we were presenting a new system. But that doesn't mean that, all systems can't kind of work together. But I would say that when you're doing good new ideas, even if they're good, be prepared. I think that's very important that entrepreneurs know that as well. Be prepared. It's okay. You're going to get pushback. It's easy for people to say no. Many people want to say no. We need to be very perseverant, very joyful, keep moving ahead, and just, you wish them well and push that to the side and keep moving forward with the people who say yes with you to impel your idea forward.
I think it's quite obvious as people listen to you that you're a very positive person and that you have this, and I'm sure there's been some difficult times as well for everybody. There obviously is. But what keeps you? What are your sources for the joy that keeps the smile on the face and keeps the attitude up as you're going forward through the different resistance?
Oh gosh, I'm just grateful. We're in an incredible world, an incredible opportunity to, continue to affect and change the world. I think after having gone abroad on those trips, Mike, and seeing people, 3 families underneath a tarp where their homes had been washed away by the earthquake and the floods in El Salvador up into the mountains, and not having had food for 3 days. And what I call here, any challenge we have here, I call it a luxury trouble. We've actually trademarked that. It's pretty funny. But the point is that your cell phone's not working. You don't feel like you're having a good day. You are not in a good mood. This person stood you up for lunch. That's a luxury trouble. That is no trouble compared to what I've seen across the world. I've been so fortunate to see so much across the world that every day I get up grateful, saying, I can choose what I want to eat. I have friends, I have family, I have purpose, I have a calling. Now, having said that, we don't treat any challenge lightly. Everyone has challenges, whether they might be divorce or relationships. We want to make sure we're honoring every single person's challenge. But for me, I would say the top things is I have very strong faith in God and the universe, nature, and principles. I have a very loving family. I think friends can be like family. I think that's so important. I meditate. I go over positive affirmations, and I focus with a lens on gratitude. That's what I focus on. That's how I train my mind. I think it's so important.
Fantastic. Okay. I want to make sure I go back to this one because this is huge. You at Universal Giving help other people be very involved in corporate social responsibility. Now, some people that they don't even know that term. So first of all, explain what that is. But then why is it important for companies these days to even be focusing on that topic?
Yes, corporate social responsibility has actually been around since the early 1900s. GE did a phenomenal job getting corporate social responsibility and caring for NGOs and their team members, volunteering and giving with those NGOs. So corporate social responsibility is the responsibility of a company to give back, That can be through sustainability measures, giving, volunteering. They have matching gifts programs where employees recommend a nonprofit and the company matches that nonprofit with a gift. So if you gave 25, they give 25. But it also goes into sustainability, making sure that if you're involved in packaging, that your packaging is sustainable. So every company has a different lens on what corporate social responsibility is. But in essence, it's about how a company responsibly gives back to the world and its community. And that can be defined in different ways. For universal giving, it's incredibly important for us because what we do is we go into companies, help them with their corporate social responsibility strategy, their operations. We help scale out their community giving programs all over the world, helping make sure their employees are involved in recommending NGOs everywhere. How do they do that? How do we engage and train their employees to do that? We then vet all their nonprofits through product grants, matching gifts, foundation grants. We vet that with a 24-stage quality model that vets and makes sure it's a quality nonprofit. And then we disperse the funds. So we then send them out millions of dollars all across the world to help these companies. Now, what's so key about this for us is every nonprofit I'm a part of, we generate revenue. So we generate revenue by doing that. That's not end of year fundraising. This is a company where we are helping them strategically with their giving and volunteering and their CSR, and they pay us to do that.
That's fantastic. So just to kind of wrap my mind around this a little bit, as you started this company or this nonprofit, Universal Giving, with the idea of matching volunteers and funds all around the world, then you as a service, as a paid service, go to a company like Apple and they pay you to help them spend money so they can be corporately responsible in a larger world. And then you match them with different NGOs and different projects that their culture connects with. So that's not just anything. So that's a service to them. So they know that they're doing something good, not just providing something for market that's good, but they're doing something greater good in the world as well. And then beyond that, you're also making sure that all the money that people give, it's going straight towards the different NGOs. Is that a good simplification of what you do?
Yes, I think so. And I think, yeah, so we have a website that connects, it's a marketplace that people can give and volunteer with. 100% goes to the cause and we vet it for you for free. So that's all free. So our website is all free. You can donate and volunteer for free and we'll vet all the causes for you. So that's free. Then
which is important. Let me pause there. So important because as a person who's been involved in this whole world for a long time as well, there's a lot of organizations out there that you shouldn't be giving your money to, and that the overhead is 85%. So you're giving just to pay salaries. You're not giving, actually, you give $100 and $15 goes to the end result. And I'm not against overhead, but I love that process that you have there so people can see what they're giving to. So yes. I just wanted to say great job on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's the whole goal, is we want to make sure that people's money, 100% of it, is getting to the nonprofit. That's the intention. And we didn't want to make money off of that, Mike. We were like, we don't want that. It can be a business model. There are competitors out there that take 10, 15, 20% as a cut. But we thought, let's think in a different way and let's make money in a different way. So when you come in, you donate, you volunteer, it's free. We vet it for free for you. That's our public service out to the world as a nonprofit. Then we make money by going into companies, helping them with their corporate social responsibility planning, vetting their NGOs, dispersing the funds out, helping them scale their operations across the world, and they pay us to do that. Now, one note I would like to say on corporate social responsibility, it's incredibly powerful for companies. Yes, it's important to give back. And for that one motive alone, giving back and giving back from the resources and the wealth you've made is important. And it absolutely helps with brand positivity. It helps with employee retention, employee attraction, getting employees to come to your company and to stay, with client attraction and retention, supplier attraction and retention. So it absolutely helps with product adoption. So we are absolutely in full support that companies, in addition to giving back from the heart, should also be able to improve their bottom line, product adoption, brand. We're fully behind companies being able to do that as well through these endeavors.
It goes back to that classic hand open idea. If you have your hand closed, you might not lose what you have, but you also get nothing new. But if you have your hand open and you're willing to give away that, yeah, you're going to lose someone's going to come out of your hand. People are going to take it. You're going to give it, but also more is going to come back to you. And I love that whole philosophy right now, especially with millennial mindset. They want to work for a company that is doing something big in the world, and they wouldn't be a part of that. So that's incredible that people find you and do this. Now, all of these come together because you're doing so much. You got the tech for good, and you've built these relationships, and you have the social responsibility. A company like Apple doesn't just trust anybody. They want to know that there's a good leader at the helm. And one of the things I can tell about you and see in you in entrepreneurship and in starting and growing the companies is leadership. So share with us a couple lessons about leadership that we can kind of wrap up with, and every single person can just go, yeah, that's right. That will help me in my leadership.
Well, leadership, first of all, everyone is a leader right now. Everyone is a leader right now. I'm a firm believer in that. How we even treat people in the day-to-day. So if you're walking down the street and you've got a somber look on your face rather than a pleasant look or a smile, even that is going to affect so many other people to have a positive day or not. And so whether you're in a CEO role or not, I believe everyone is leading right now, right now, right now. And so that's a tremendous opportunity for everyone who wants to be a leader to start acting like a leader, because you are one. Who you are, who you be, affects everyone every moment. And that absolutely translates into, if you interact with someone and you're in a bad mood and they walk away from you in a bad mood, they could bring that to the dinner table with their wife or husband. If you come away joyful, or you're walking down the street and someone sees your smile, they might say, hey, I saw that girl smiling. Like, you're going to provide a cascade of leadership effects by just who you be. So first of all, leadership sometimes is, okay, it's the CEO or this person on high. Everyone's a leader. Second, I would say that for leaders, you'll face challenges. You focus on the positives. You be your best you. You stay focused on doing your best to build the best organization and be your best you. If you need to accept feedback, if you need to get better, absolutely accept that. But then you get right back on to looking forward to reaching that vision. There will be people that say no. People try to put you down. People try to drag you down. You just wish them well and move on. Do not get caught up in that angst. Do not get up in the whys. You just keep staying positive and focused, moving ahead. And that's where it's so important that you not get distracted by the no's and the naysayers. There's a lot of people in our world who focus on fear. That's not you. You focus on moving ahead to realize your best you and the best company, and just let those other people go by the wayside. You wish them well and you move ahead.
Oh, come on. I think right now you just took us to church right here, and we're ready to go. The positivity, the leadership, all of that. That's so good. My mind's just embracing it. And I know that our audience is just overwhelmed right now as well, and just in a great sense. So thank you for leaving that with us. Pamela, where can people find you? Where can people get a hold of you? Sometimes I have people tuning into these and they're looking for a speaker or a trainer. So where can people reach out to you, and anything else that you want to leave us with?
Yes, thank you so much. So you can go to UniversalGiving, www.universalgiving.org, to give and volunteer. And if you'd like to reach me, I have a wonderful, wonderful global team that's helpful. You can email us at phawley, PHAWLEY @universalgiving.org. And we'd love to hear from you.
Fantastic. And I'll put some other links in there for your speaker agency and such as well, so people can get a hold of you there. But thank you so much for being a part of this today and talking with us, talking with me, encouraging me, and encouraging everybody else listening as well.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you.
And thank you to our listeners. And thank you so much that you are part of this YouTube and podcast. Please take a moment, like, share, subscribe, so that you catch us next time.
Thanks for listening to Advance with Mike Acker, a podcast designed to provide an edge for leaders through improving practical leadership skills and increasing confidence in speaking. Mike is a best-selling author and business owner who has helped many leaders increase their skills and their confidence, propelling them to new heights in their personal and professional endeavors. Join an incredible group of professionals taking the steps to become better leaders at connect.stepstoadvance.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.